Since FIFA...
Rigid skipper Ronnie Whelan, who, like most people, was struggling to quite get to grips with the timing of Dalglish's departure.
The last thing we expected when we came in this morning was the gaffer to tell us he was retiring. But that's it, he's made his decision, we've got to get on with it now the rest of the season.
As expected, the message from inside Anfield was that they wanted to promote from within.
We'd like to think that will happen again because it's been so bad.
Having played over 500 games for Liverpool and with a record 8 championship medals, Alan Hansen is strongly tipped to now join the management team and take his place in the famous boot room, and maybe in the top job. But after 39 years at the club, it's Dalglish's right-hand man Ronnie Moran who's taken on the role of caretaker manager. He's definitely the most experienced person for the job and is ready and willing to take it on board. Moran, a former player, he's been at the club ever since Bill Shankly created the Anfield dynasty. But while he prepares for today's game at Luton, many people in football still can't fathom out the timing of this Anfield twist. Everyone knows Kenny Dalglish is his own man and now respect his wishes, but only his family and those closest to him really know the background to what the traumatic pressures of the last few years have really done to him. To say the football supporters in the city of Liverpool, red and blue alike, were shocked by yesterday's announcement is a complete understatement. As a player and as a manager, Dalglish helped bring continued success to Anfield, but he also helped steer the club through the 2 tragedies of Heysel and Hillsborough. In Liverpool, the feeling is still one of complete astonishment that he should resign at this stage of the season.
Ray Stubbs reporting. Joining us now from Manchester, the former captain of Liverpool, Tommy Smith. Tommy, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Bob.
I heard you at half-time in the Goodison game the other night, Tommy, very forcibly praising and very eloquently praising Kenny and Liverpool's abilities to withstand pressure on and off the field. This must come as a tremendous shock.
Well, it does, and I mean, I saw Kenny after the game, and he didn't give any indication to anybody, and myself, what he was going to do, and it's come as a complete surprise.
Is it simply a case of pressure, Tommy? That's what he's saying, pressure that he's put upon himself.
I think so, because Kenny's a very truthful person. I mean, I do know him, not sociably, but I do know him through the football club, and most things he says, you know, he means. I mean, the media had a lot of trouble with him because basically, for one, I used to say that they couldn't understand him, but I think he's his own man, and what he says I really think is true.
Do you think it's a case of not enjoying it? I mean, has he ever enjoyed being a manager?
I think he's enjoyed it, but I think as you get a bit older, you do tend to miss the playing days, and I know he's past that, but the pressure at Liverpool, if you can imagine the pressure that 1 or 2 smaller clubs get through maybe having to sell players and that, the pressure at Liverpool is tenfold, because I mean Kenny has only got to do something out of the ordinary, and I mean the media are down on his back.
But he's also sensitive to criticism, isn't he? And just lately, there's been all sorts of criticism. There's been criticism of his buying or not buying, and then when he bought David Speedy and he bought Jimmy Carter, criticism of the buying. He's also had this little thing going about Peter Beardsley and the non-selection of Peter Beardsley. Does it play any part?
I don't think so. I think the pressure builds up basically through results and what have you, and to attain those results. I mean, I don't think anybody's questioned his buying or anybody's questioned his team selection. There's been mutterings, but at the end of the year he's always come up with a trophy, so those people who do disagree with him, and you're quite entitled to disagree with him, often are pushed into the background, but I don't think it's got anything to do with Peter Beardsley or anything like that. The papers are trying to speculate why, and myself, I honestly think that he's just had enough. The pressure's got to him. I mean, people say, why is he sort of jacked it in now? Well,
it's not a good timing though, Tommy, is it really?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the top of the table, the championship is there still, up for grabs, the double is still on, albeit with a difficult replay again at Goodison.
Well, yeah, but how do you explain, if you like, I mean, an oil well in the North Sea blows up, but you can't guess when it's going to be because the pressure is so much, and it's just like the job at Liverpool. A lot of people don't realise that, okay, he's managing a great club, it's a good club, good players, but you've got to maintain it, and I think that's where the pressure comes from. And you don't know when anybody's going to... he's possibly doing it for his own health. I saw him yesterday on the TV, and he didn't look at all well to me.
Just one pointer, Tommy. We're led to believe that Noel White and the board said to him, look, Kenny, go away, have a little rest, have a sabbatical, come back when you want to, we'll keep the ship going until you arrive back.
I think that's what they've probably done. I mean, I believe they were in a meeting for 5 hours, and at the end of the day, I think, honestly and truthfully, Kenny just has had enough. He's been at the top for so long. The pressure has finally got to him, and he just doesn't want any more pressure from anything but of his own pressure. Like he said yesterday, for the first time in his life, he's thinking about Kenny Dalglish, not Liverpool Football Club.
Just tell me very briefly, Tommy, at this stage, the reaction of the fans on Merseyside.
Well, there was phone-ins last night on the local radio. I was at a dinner last night, and not one person came up with any stick for Kenny in any shape or form. I mean, people were thanking them on the radio and that for basically doing what he's done for Liverpool Football Club. I think people do realise that he has got a bit of a problem with the pressure, and I think they're understanding enough to realise that with a club like Liverpool, okay, Kenny is a major part of it, but he's not Liverpool FC. Nobody is bigger than the club. If Kenny goes, somebody will replace him. I mean, but when Bill Shankly retired, there was the same reaction. When Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, it still carries on because it's on firm foundations, the club.
Do you think, Tommy, that Hillsborough, the tragedy of Hillsborough, played any part in this decision?
I think so. I honestly do think so. I mean, I still get ramifications from Hillsborough. I was at the game, and I mean, every time you go to Anfield, you pass the little monument that's there for the people who died. It really did affect the people of Liverpool, and I mean, if you were in charge of the team that actually not so much caused the situation, but it was created out of a game, I think it's left scars with him, yes.
Tommy, stay with us. I want to come back to you, but we're going to hear now from the man who's been put in charge of the Liverpool team. Great character, great servant to the club, Ronnie Moran. He's been talking this morning to David Davis.
Ronnie, how much of a surprise was it to you that Kenny went?
Well, it was a big surprise to me. I think it was just like when Bill Shankly announced his retirement. I mean, the first news I had, it was when Kenny himself phoned me up at home about 8:30 on Thursday evening. And at first, with being a bit of a joke with one another, I thought he was having a joke with me, and I sold him so. No, then I suddenly realised he was being honest about it. He said, "I'm packing up." And so that was it.
If anything, it's a bigger shock than Shankly going, isn't it?
Well, it probably, on our young years, it probably is. And but anything happens in football. I mean, I've been in it that many years, and I don't call them shocks. I call it just part of football, and we've just got to carry on what's left ahead of us.
Just part of football. Kenny's talked about the pressures. Do you know what the pressures were?
Well, I haven't been a manager in football. I've only been on the training and coaching side all my life, and it's a bit different than that. I mean, regards to the manager's job, I mean, there probably is bigger pressures with day-to-day involvement in the game and transfers and selections of teams and press, television and all this. I suppose that could get through to you, but I don't know because I've never done it.
Were you aware that the pressures were getting to him then?
No, because even in the afternoon before I left the club, Thursday afternoon, I was speaking to Kenny about the squad to come down here for Luton, and he had no inclination that he was going to pack in.
Some people, outsiders watching him standing throughout a game, might say he seemed to have lost a bit of enjoyment from the game, which I know you've always had.
I don't think so. I mean, he came down training every morning. He joined in the small-sided games that we had, and he still wanted to win his games. He enjoyed that, and he looked forward. He was always disappointed we weren't going to have a game with the players. A bit like Shanks on this way. He always liked this game, and if he didn't get a game, he didn't enjoy the training session.
So how have the players reacted?
Well, we had a training session yesterday. I had a word with the players, and they're professionals, just like I've got to get on with the job I've been given by the chairman at the moment. And they reacted well yesterday. And as I said, being good pros, they've got to get on with the job. They can't mope around and feel sorry for Kenny because they've got to earn a living and they've got to work for the Liverpool Football Club.
Is it going to change you and your role?
In what way?
Is it going? Are you going to wear a suit?
Oh no! I'll stick to my tracksuit. I'll always stick to my tracksuit, sat on the line. I mean, that's what I've done all my life. I'm not going to change now.
You've seen managers come and go at Liverpool. You've seen, what is it, four managers, 3, 4 managers?
Well, I've been there all my life, and I mean, counting, I wouldn't like to go through the number that's been, but George Kay was the first one. But I mean, since then, Don Welsh, Phil Taylor, Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, and Kenny.
When you first went to Anfield, would you have ever thought, one day I'll be the manager?
No, I only went there as a schoolboy, 15-year-old. I mean, I just went there signed on amateur forms and played right throughout the teams, and then Bill Shankly offered me a job on the coaching staff, and I started off with the kids, coaching them, and then moved up to the reserves, and then with the first team in 1974.
So this is a very big day for you.
Not necessarily. I mean, to me, it's a big day as every match, and to me, I'm worried more about the reaction of the players. I want them to go out and do their stuff for themselves and for the club. That's the main thing at Liverpool, which we've always worked on, and no individuals come into it. I mean, I enjoy every game, especially if we win it. If you lose, you've got to put a brave face on and try and sort problems out during the game, half-time. But after the game, you can't do nothing about it. You just got to carry on ready for the next game.
There's no question that Ronnie Moran wants to be the full-time manager of Liverpool.
Well, I was told by the chairman to take charge of team selections for today, and that's as far as I'm going on that. I'll wait to see what happens after today when I go back to the club on Monday.
Can I ask you one final thing about Kenny's departure? There's been talk this morning that what happened at Hillsborough affected him more profoundly than had perhaps been thought, even at the time.
Well, it affected a lot of us in one way, the Hillsborough disaster, and you know, as I said before, things happen in football, and I've been in it all my life, and you just got to take it on a par with everything else. Some are bigger disasters than others, and you've just got to carry on. I mean, life goes on, and you can't do nothing about disasters. You feel sorry at the time, and you always got them in your thoughts, but you can't mope about them. You've just got to carry on with life.
Ronnie, an awful lot of people will wish you well. Thanks very much indeed for talking to me.
Pleasure.
Well, David Davis said it all there. A lot of people will hope that Ronnie Moran will get the job. He really is a lovely man. Tommy Smith, lovely men don't always make great managers, but what is your reaction? You touched upon it a little bit earlier with me.
I think possibly Liverpool will go within the four walls they've got, and I think Ronnie has got to be favourite, and personally, if I was the chairman, I would go for Ronnie because he's been at the club an awful long time. He is a nice fella, Ronnie, but he's like most footballers. He gets excited, and don't get on the wrong side of him.
Well, you know him better than most, don't you?
Well, I played
You
with
obviously
him for a
have got on the wrong
seasons,
side of him somewhere along the line.
Ronnie knows the business. I mean, he's been in the game an awful long time, and you're not at Liverpool for an awful long time like that and know nothing. I mean, he's not just somebody who's going to be manipulated by anybody, and Ronnie's his own man. Every job he's done at Liverpool, he's done to, the fullest of ability, and like I say, he always gives the club 100%, unless he wouldn't be there. I mean, personally, I would go with Ronnie.
You say, though, that Liverpool may keep it within their four walls. That is the Liverpool way. Alan Hansen remains within the Liverpool four walls, and this morning a couple of suggestions that Kenny is even saying give it to Jockey Hansen.
I think the thing is now that Kenny's left, he might give Liverpool some advice, but I think at the end of the day the directors will make the decision. Kenny's advice might be taken, but if you look at the situation, Alan's only just sort of getting over an injury, and even though possibly he might not play again, I think he's just not at that stage where to take over as a manager. Whereas I think Ronnie, along with Roy Evans, who've been there for so long, could step into the job. You possibly there wouldn't be that many changes, and maybe Alan could move up to maybe Phil Thompson move up to first team coach, and Alan could take over the reserves.
So you would dismiss, Tommy, other suggestions possibly like Graham Souness or Kevin Keegan or John Toshak?
Well, I think Toshi's been out of the game, or not so much out of the game, out of England for so long now, 6 or 7 years. I think to take him back would be a problem because he doesn't know what's going on in the league. I think Graham Souness has got that much involvement with Rangers, not only as a manager. I don't think he would come down, like their chairman said. Why should he go to take a step down in his career by going back to Liverpool? Which was only a pun on word, but at the end of the day, I don't see Graham coming down. Kevin Keegan, no, I don't think Kevin would relish the job either. I think they'll keep it within the four walls and just promote everybody accordingly.
Tommy, thanks very much for all your words. Pleasure to talk to you again.
Pleasure.
Well, that's Tommy Smith. Is it really the end of Kenny Dalglish's career in football? I certainly hope not. But if it is, his place alongside the greats is assured. A look back with Gerald Sinstad.
Images that linger of a man whose achievements are forever. In sport, yesterday's superlatives become tomorrow's benchmarks. that Kenny Dalglish's record is carved in granite. Dalglish made his bow for Liverpool at Wembley in the 1977 Charity Shield match. He was to be the replacement for Kevin Keegan, who'd been the idol of the Kop, scorer of 100 Liverpool goals. Buying Kenny from Celtic for £440,000 was not a gamble. He was the finished article, 166 goals for Celtic. And 47 caps for Scotland, among them another 17 goals, none sweeter than the one against the old enemy at Wembley 3 months earlier. If adapt, the next season, league champions, Dalglish, Player of the Year, a vote by the football press, seconded and carried unanimously by the tiered ranks of connoisseurs on the Kop. The next season, more of the same. Liverpool swept into the 80s as champions again. Kenny played in every game and scored 16 league goals in a series of inspirational performances. Anfield is the home of the team ethic. Dalglish contrived to be part of it and to transcend it. Season 80-81, to go with another triumph in Europe, a new trophy, the League Cup, won in a replayed final with West Ham.
And here's Dalglish. Oh, that's a marvellous goal.
Season 81-82, Liverpool on course for another league title. Dalglish had played in 4 championship teams in Scotland. This was to be the third of his 5 in England. A decisive game at home to Tottenham.
Dalglish is through. Kenny Dalglish. And is that the goal which clinches the First Division title?
The cap size was unchanged. It was the trophy cabinet that needed enlarging. 1983 brought his second Player of the Year award.
Gentlemen, there's not a lot I can say. There's probably not a lot you'll understand. But basically it's just to thank everyone. The boss who signed me for Liverpool and who's helped me a great deal since I came here. The people who voted for me to win the award, which, as everyone has admitted, is very coveted, and especially the lads. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Neil's clearance to Dalglish. Beautiful turn. Oh, and on for Rush. What a perfect through ball. And what a brilliant goal. Ian Rush celebrates the goal, but Kenny Dalglish, the creator supreme.
The paternal management of Bob Paisley ended with a transition Liverpool liked to think of as their hallmark. Paisley bowed out. Joe Fagan, one of his mates from the boot room, stepped forward. The Reds didn't break stride. On the way to a European Cup, League and League Cup treble, Dalglish scored his 100th league goal for Liverpool.